How do you get rich? When I ask where did I learn my formula for getting rich, I reply playing the game of Monopoly as a kid. Some people think I am kidding and others wait for the punchline expecting a joke. Yet it's not meant as a joke, and I am not kidding. The formula for getting rich is monopoly. In monopoly is simple. The formula for getting rich in monopoly is simple and it works in real life as well as in the game. Four greenhouses, one red hotel. You may recall that the secret to wealth when playing Monopoly is simple to buy four greenhouses and then trade them to buy a large red hotel. That is all it takes, and that is the same investment formula for wealth my wife and I used. When the real estate market was really bad, we bought as many small houses as we could with the limited money we had. When the market improved, we trade in the four greenhouses and bought a large red hotel. We never have to work because the cash flow from our large red hotel apartment houses and mini storage pay for our lifestyle. It work for hamburgers also. Or if you do not like real estate, all you have to do is make hamburgers, build a business around that hamburger and franchise it. Within a few years, the increasing cash flow will provide you with more money than you can spend. In reality, that is how simple the path to extraordinary wealth can be. In other words, in this high tech world, the principles of great wealth remain simple and low tech. I would say that it's merely common sense, but unfortunately, when it comes to the subject of money, common sense is uncommon. For example, it makes no sense to me to give people a tax break to lose money and spend their lives in debt, or to call your home an asset when it really is a liability that drains cash from you every day, or to have a national government that spends more money than it collects in taxes, or to send a child to school to study in the hope of getting a job but not teach that child anything about money. It is easy to do what rich people do. Doing what rich people do is easy. One of the reasons there are so many wealthy people who did not do well in school is because the to do part for becoming wealthy is simple and you do not have to go to the school to become rich. The to do part of becoming rich is definitely not rocket science. There is a classic book I recommend you read, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read this book as a youngster and it greatly influenced the direction of my life. In fact, it was my rich dad who first recommended I read this book and others like it. There is a good reason why it titled Think and Grow Rich and not Work Hard and Grow Rich or Get a Job and Grow Rich. The fact is, people who work the hardest do not wind up rich. If you want to be rich, you need to think independently rather than go along with the crowd. In my opinion, one great asset of a rich is they think differently from everyone else. If you do what everyone else does, you will wind up having what everyone else has. And for most people, what they have is years of hard work, unfair taxes, and a lifetime of debt. When someone asks me, what do I have to do to move from the left side of the quadrant to the right side? My response is, it's not what you have to do that needs to change. It's first how you think that needs to change. In other words, it's you who have to be in order to do what needs to be done. Do you want to be the kind of person who thinks buying four greenhouses and turning them in for one red hotel is easy, or do you want to be kind of person who thinks buying your greenhouses and turning them in for one red hotel is hard? Years ago, I was in this class on goal setting. It was the mid 1970s, and I really could not believe I was spending $150 on a beautiful Saturday or Sunday to learn how to set goals. I would rather have been suffering. Instead, here I was paying some to teach me how to set goals. I nearly back out several times, but what I learned from that class has helped me achieve what I want in life. The instructor put up I nearly back up several times, but what I learned from that class has helped me achieve what I want in life. The instructor put up on the board these three words: be, do, have. She then said goals are the half part of these three words. Goals such as to have a nice body, or to have the perfect relationship, or to have millions of dollars, or to have great wealth, or to have fame. Once most people figure out what they want to have their goals, they begin listing what they have to do. This is why most people have to do lists. They set their goals and then begin doing. She first used the goals of the perfect body. What most people do when they want a perfect body is go on a diet and then go to the gym. This lasts for a few weeks, and then most are back to the old diet for french fries and pizza, and instead of going to the gym they watch baseball on TV. This is an example of doing instead of being. It's not the diet that counts, it's who you have to be. Follow the diet that counts. Yet every year millions of people look for the perfect diet to follow in order to become thin. They focus on what they have to do rather than who they have to be. A diet will not help if your thoughts do not change. She used goals as another example. Many people buy a new set of golf club in hopes that they can improve their game instead of starting with the attitude, mindset, and belief of a professional golfer. A loosey golfer with a new set of goals golf club is still a loosey golfer. Then she discussed investment. Many people think that buying stocks or mutual funds will make them rich. Well, simply buying stocks, mutual fund, real estate, bonds will not make you rich. Just doing what professional investors do does not guarantee financial success. A person who has a loser mentality will always lose no matter what stock, bond, real estate, or mutual fund they buy. Next, she used an example of finding the perfect romantic partner. So many people go to bar or to work or to their church looking for the perfect person, the person of their dreams. That is they do. What they do is go and look for the right person instead of work on being the right person. Here one of her example about relationship in marriage. Many people try to change the other person so they can have a better marriage instead of trying to change the other person, which often leads to fight. It is better to change yourself first. She said don't work on the other person, work on your thoughts about that other person. As she was Taking about relationship, my mind drifted to the many people I had met over the years who were out to change the world but were not getting anywhere. They wanted to change everyone else but not change themselves. For her example of money, she said, and when it comes to money, many people try to do what the rich do and to have what the rich have. So they go out and buy a house that look rich, a car that looks rich, and send their kids to the school where the rich send their kids. All these does all this does is cause these people to do by working harder and to have more debt, which cause them to work even harder, which is not what the truly rich do. I was nodding my head in the back of the room in agreement. My rich dad not use these same words to explain things. But he do often say to me, people think that working hard for money and then buying things that make them look rich will make them rich. In most cases, it doesn't. It look makes them more tired. They call it keeping up with the Joneses. And if you notice, the Joneses are exhausted. During that weekend class, much of what my rich dad had been telling me began to make more sense. For years, he lived modestly. Instead of working hard to pay bills, he worked hard to acquire assets. If you saw him on the street, he looked like everyone else. He drove a pickup truck, not an expensive car. Then one day, when he was in his late 30s, he emerged as a financial powerhouse. People took notice when he suddenly bought one of the prime pieces of real estate in Hawaii. After his name hit the paper, it was then people realized that his quiet, entrepreneur, unpretentious man owned many other businesses, lots of prime real estate, and when he spoke, his bankers listened. Few people ever saw the modest house he lived in after he was flush with cash and cash flow from his asset. He then bought a new large house for his family. He did not take out a loan, he paid cash. After that weekend class on goal setting, I realized that many people tried doing what they thought the rich did and tried having what the rich had. They often would buy big houses, invest in the stock market because that is what they thought the rich did. Yet, what my rich dad was trying to tell me was if they still thought and had the belief and ideas of a poor person or middle class person and then did what the rich did, they would still wind up having the poor and middle class have begin to make sense. The cash flow quadrant is about being not doing. Moving from the left side of the quadrant to the right side of the quadrant is not so much about doing but more about being. It's not so much what the B or I does that makes the difference. It is more how the think how they are at their core being. The good news is that it does not cost much money to change your thinking. In fact, it can be done for free. The bad news is that sometimes it hard to change some deep core thoughts about money that are handed down from generation to generation, or thoughts that you learned from friends, from work, and from schools. Yet it can be done, and this is what this book primarily about. It's not so much how to book or what to do to become financial free. This book is not about what stocks to buy or what mutual fund is safest. This book is primarily about strengthening your thoughts being so that you can take the action doing that will enable you to become financial free having. Security is a issue for ease. As a generalization, people who seek out the e-quadrant when it comes to money often greatly value security. For them, it is often true that money is not important security. They may take great risks in other areas of their life, such as sport, parachuting, but not when it comes to money. Perfectionism is the issue for us. Again, this is a generalization, yet, what I have observed among people who are currently in the S quadrant but are trying to switch from the left quadrant to the right quadrant in is a do it yourself mentality. They like to do it themselves because they often have a great need to make sure things are done right, and since they have a hard times finding someone else to do it right, they do it on their own. For many, as the real issue is control, they need to be in control. They hate making mistakes. What they hate even more is someone else making mistake and making them look bad. That is what makes them excellent as and the reason you hire them to do certain tasks for you. You want your dentist to be a perfectionist, you want your attorney to be a perfectionist, you want your brain surgeon to be a perfectionist, you want your architect to be a perfectionist. That is what you pay them for. This is their strength, it is also their weakness. Emotional intelligence. A big part of being a human being is being human. And being humans means having emotional. All of us have the same emotion. We all feel fear, sadness, anger, love, hate, disappointment, joy, hope, happiness, and other emotion. What makes us individual is how we each handle those emotions. When it comes to risking money, we all experience fear, even the rich. The difference is how we handle that fear. For many people, that emotions of fear generates the thought play is safe, don't take risk. For others, especially those on the right side, fear of losing money may have them think this thought play it smart, learn to manage risk. Same emotion, different thoughts, different beings, different doing, different having. The fear of losing money. In my opinions, the greatest cause of human financial struggle is the fear of losing money, and because of this fear, people often operate too safely or with too much personal control, or they just give their money to someone they think is an expert and hope and pray that money will be there when they need it. If fear keeps you prison in one of the financial quadrant, I recommend you read Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goldman. In his book, Goldman explains the age old puzzle of why people who do well academically in schools do not always do well financially in the real world. His answers is that emotional IQ is more powerful than academic IQ. That is why people who take risks make mistakes and recover often do better than people who learned not to make mistakes because they were afraid of risks. Too many people leave schools with passing grades yet are not emotional prepared to take risks, especially financial risks. The reason so many teachers are not rich is because they operate in punish people who make mistakes environment, and they themselves are often people who are emotional afraid of making mistakes start to be financial free. We need to learn how to make mistakes and manage risks. If people spend their life terrified of losing money, afraid of doing things differently from what the crowd does, then getting rich is almost impossible, even if it is as simple as buying your four greenhouses and trading them in for one large red hotel. Emotional IQ is stronger. After reading Goldman's book, I came to realize the financial IQ is 90% emotional IQ and only 10% technical information about finance or money. Goldman quotes 16th century humanist Aramis of Rotterdam, who wrote a satirical vein of the perennial tension between reason and emotion. In his writing, he used the ratio of 24 ratio 1 in comparing the power of emotional brain to the rational brain. In other words, when emotions are high gear, emotions are 24 times stronger than the rational mind. Now, I do not know if the ratio is valid, but it does have some useful as a reference to the power of emotional versus rational thinking. 24 ratio 1. Emotional brain, rational brain. All of us, if we are human, have experienced events in our life when our emotions overtook our rational thoughts. I am certain most of us have. Number one, said something out of anger that we later wish we had not said. Number two, being attracted to someone we knew was not good for us but still went out with them or worse, married them. Have cried or seen someone cry controllable, controllably because of the loss of the loved ones. Number four, did something intentionally to hurt someone we love because we were hurt. Number five, had our heart broken and not gotten over for a long time. Those are just a few examples of emotions being stronger than rational thoughts. There are times when emotions are more than 24 ratio 1, and these are often called number 1 additions such as compulsive eating, smoking, sex, shopping, drugs. Number 2 phobias such as fear of snakes, heights, tight spaces, dark strangers. These and the other behaviors are often 100% emotionally driven. There is a little power that rationally thought has over the emotional thought when someone as stronger as addiction and phobias are involved. Snakes phobia. When I was in flight school, I had a friend who had a phobia about snakes. During a class on how to survive in the wild after being shot down, the teacher brought out a harmless garden snake to show us how to eat it. My friend, a grown man, jumped up, screamed, and ran out of the room. He could not control himself. Not only was his phobia of snakes strong, but the idea of eating a snack was just too much for his emotion to bear. Money. Money phobia. When it comes to risking money, I have seen people do the same thing. Instead of finding out about the investment, they also jump up and scream and run out of the room. When it comes to the subject of money, there are many deep emotional phobias, too many to list. I have them, you have them. We all have them. Why? Because, like it or not, money is an emotional subject, and because it's an emotional subject, most people cannot think logically about money. If you don't think money is emotional, just watch the stock market. In most market, there is no logic, only the emotions of greed and fear. Or just watch people climb into a new car and have them smell the leather interior. All the salesperson has to do is whispers these magic words in their ears. Low down, easy monthly payment, and all logic goes out of the window. Emotional thoughts sound logical. The problem with core emotional thought is that they sound logical to someone in the E quadrant when the emotion of fear is present. The logical thought is play in safe, don't take risks to someone in the I quadrant. However, this thought does not sound logical for people in the S quadrant when the issue of trusting other people to do a good job comes up. Their logical thought may go like this: I'll just do it myself. This is the reason why so many S type business are often family businesses. There is a greater sense of trust for them. Blood is definitely thicker than water. So different quadrants, different logic, different thoughts, different action, different have same emotions. Different emotions make us human beings, and recognizing that we have emotions is a large part of being human. What determines what we do is how we individually respond to those emotions. I don't feel like it. One way to know if you are thinking emotionally and not rationally is when you use the word feel in conversation. For example, many people who are run by their emotions or their feelings will say things like, I don't feel like exercising today. Logically, they know they should exercise. Many people who struggle financially are not able to control how they feel, or they let their feelings dictate their thoughts. I hear them say, I don't feel like learning about investing. It's too much trouble. Investing doesn't feel right for me. I don't feel like telling my friends about my business. I hate the feeling of being rejected. Parent, child, adult. Those are the thoughts generated from emotions more than rational. In pop psychology is the battle between the parent and the child. The parent usually speaks in should. For example, a parent might say, you should be doing your homework, while the children speaks in feeling. In response to homework, the child say, but I don't feel like doing it. Financially, your the parent in you would say silently, you should save more money, but the child in you would reply, but I really feel like taking a vacation. I'll just put the vacation on my credit card. When you are an adult, in going from left quadrant to right quadrant, you need to be adult. We all need to grow up financially instead of being parent of children. We need to look at money, work, or investing as adult, and what being an adult mean is knowing what you have to do and doing it even though you may not feel like doing it. Conversation within you for people contemplating making the crossing from one quadrant to another. An important part of the process is to aware of your internal dialogue or conversation within you. Always remember the importance of the book Think and Grow Rich. A significant part of the process is to be constantly vigilant regarding your silent thoughts, your internal dialogues, and always remember that what sound logical in your quadrant does not make sense in another quadrant. The process of going from job or financial security to financial freedom is primarily a process of changing your thinking. It is a process of doing your best to know which thoughts are emotion based and which thoughts are logic based. If you can keep your emotions in check and go from what you know to be logical, and you have a good chance of making the journey no matter what anyone is saying to you from the outside. The most important conversation is one you are having with yourself on the inside. When Kim and I were temporarily homeless